but welcome. I am the tech lead for the Domino core application team, DCAP. Sounds like decapitated, but we are the team that does application stuff in core Domino. I don't want to say making up for time lost, but I made the statement before that really what we've made available through the APIs and through the different interfaces is about 60% of what Domino can do. So I'm trying to make up some of that gulf. I mean, some of it will never be exposed because it's just proprietary weird stuff and you don't want it. But there's a lot of stuff we're doing here in 1201 and 12, and that is hitting it, and we are presenting the some new functionality. I think you'll like it. So let's get going here, and if you have questions, I guess I can try to help you out during the middle of the talk. Maybe someone jump up and down, whatever, and I can look at that. All right, but anyway, that's who I am. That's what this talk is about. It's about DQL and the Domino core application capabilities. You'll hear that DQL is not the only thing we're building. It is certainly the first part of the new wave of application widgets that we've been offering the Domino community starting in release 10, but it's not the end. In fact, not really the focus of this talk. There's a new piece called the Query Results Processor that turned into the biggest piece of work we did for 12 and 1201. So let's go ahead into the agenda if I can. See if I can get in here. There we go. Yes, the splash sheet that comes up. These are our wonderful sponsors. This is a great conference, one of my favorite conferences. And these folks, kudos to all of them for helping out and getting this thing going. It doesn't happen by itself, but it's a great thing to see happen. Okay, so rough agenda, and I won't stick to this religiously, but I'm sticking to the slides religiously. But walking through, really coming up with the DQL start of things and how it's evolved. I have a slide on the roadmap for DQL. The marketing folks love roadmaps, so I took the mantra and went forward with it. 1201, there's a new thing called named document sets I'll talk about. Then we'll get into the query results processor. I was just mentioning the QRP, and I'll use those interchangeably, QRP and query results processor, results views. So that 1201 query views is wrong. That's results views. Query views was something we built in the DB2 project long ago, and it's been replaced and subsumed. I'm going to have a brief tutorial of the QRP going through the API, and I will present the views that we have built for 1201. And there's another feature called named documents, which is you'll see so the named document sets in the first one is really result sets. It's confusing, so I'll just say don't ignore the named document sets. It's really named result sets, and I'll talk about those. You'll see. So I at the beginning and the end, these two things are not to be confused, and I hope that I can make those clear. Okay, so this goes back to 10. I don't have a 1201 piece here, but this in honor of Richard Moy is a abandoned highway in Chicago. Yes, we began DQL the voyage in version 10. We added full text in version 11. I also put the design catalog, internal design catalog being that which the DQL processor uses to look up views and such things. We added full text support of numbers and dates in 1101, put statistics in. We've worked on performance the entire time. It's kind of an ongoing theme, and we keep working on it, you'll see, as we go down the pike here. We have in 12 published formula language inclusion, so you can now include inside your DQL syntax formula language, and we have published the CAPI, two calls basically, to make DQL happen, and that works client server. So DQL has I'd say it's mature, though we're never done making it go faster and more functional. But there's a lot of stuff in there, seriously a lot of stuff in there. So let's go forward and describe what we did with formula language. So we tried really hard to meld the two syntaxes, formula language and DQL. It turned out you didn't want us to do that because it would confuse things, and we don't want to confuse you. So we needed to come up with a way to bound, to contain the formula language phrases and syntax. So the @fl or @formula, those are interchangeable, case insensitive. Those are the way that we contain and wrap the DQL, I'm sorry, the formula language syntax, whatever you're doing with it. So yeah, it's embedded in single quotes. So you see the embedding is in single quotes. You see those examples I give you. The first one it runs the formula language inside the @fl, then compares it to a scalar value in the DQL. So the greater sign and the 2430, that's DQL. Okay, so you can basically do a substitution variable in there. So you can set whatever you want. You just code it once, and that, of course, @length says how big is my document. Get documents that are larger than 2430 bytes. That's what that means. And so that can be included, ANDed, ORed, anything you want in the DQL syntax. It just fits in. And the one below that, I capitalized and just showed you the case insensitivity of these things. But that is a full-blown, true-false formula language phrase. Is this thing, is that true or is it false? If your field 1 has @left 1 for 3 of ABL, or field 2 has AB, then it's true. If it doesn't have that, it's false. So that is included inside the the formula language compilation execution. So of course, people know formula language. This is not news, but it does supply DQL with intra-document terms, basically comparing two fields, looking at dates, whatever you want to do regarding the fields that you have on the document, comparing between those. Anything in the document is fair game. The full expression support, the additions, the putting together of texts, the whole library is available to you. And I think everyone knows it's a huge jewel of functionality that's part of Domino, has been part of Domino for years and years, but now it's included. And again, DQL, one of the DQL's charters is to consolidate things. So that's what we're doing here. Now, I should mention that formula language syntax and formula language expressions must run against the NSF scan. They cannot use views. They cannot use full text indexes. I think people know that. We do an NSF search, and that's what happens here. So that's how they execute anyway. So anyway, have fun with that. Okay, and now I want to get into the right into the document set discussion, result sets. So people know that DQL produces, or full text index, they produce document collections or notes document collections. Well, we basically said, look, there's a use case here that we want to tap, which is I want to save important sets of documents. I want to find them once and reuse them quickly. I don't want to have to run the query every time. So we had, and this is used for reporting and cyclical work, also anything that's static, you can have it out there. But in this case, you don't need to create views. You don't need full text indexes. You just use the document data. That's it. And there are some new Java and Lotusscript methods to make it happen. So we basically added to the execute of the DQL execute, the Domino Query execute method. I didn't put that. This index doesn't have DQL dot execute. It should, but the idea is that everything that's bolded here is new. So you used to have just a string query, and that was a query that you feed to the DQL engine. Now you can specify a result name. It's the name of a stored set. You choose the names, and you choose if you want to replace the existing one that's there. If you don't set replace, it will not replace. You can't. It will say it already exists. So this is the way you can basically refresh the result set as the day goes on, whatever you want to do here. And the other thing is the notion of expire hours. You're going to see this also in the QRP views. We basically are saying, look, we have a bunch of transient things here. Now you can decide whatever you want to do with that, The default is 24. You can make it last a year. It's up to you what you want to do here. But we're saying that the default, is this thing gets thrown away. You want to refresh it, and you want to keep it current. Then you can run these execute over and over again. Or if it's something that's static forever, keep it. Who cares? That's your choice. But we do give you the idea of the notion of having it thrown away. And Updal does that work. I should mention that. Okay, so how do we use this thing? Here's the set right there. The first one, it does a DQL.execute, field equals value, and whatever the DQL says. The second parameter, docset1, is the name of the document set you're going to set, the result set that you're going to keep. True means if docset1 exists, overwrite it. If it doesn't say true, it would fail if docset exists. And 8760 is a year of hours. That's what that is. And you can see if it gets quite large, you can do 5 years, whatever. It's not hard to save these things a long time. But again, we designed them to be discarded because they are these artifacts regarding the search, the query. Okay, the gain and the reuse part of this is the in clause inside DQL. So if you're familiar with DQL, we can find folders and views. That's what we use this for, the in view name, in folder name. And it gets those documents that are inside the view or the folder in hand and ands them and ors them with the rest of the syntax. Well, this one says, look, I want you to find, first of all, if docset1 exists, I don't care if it's a view name called docset1 or a folder. If docset1 exists as a result set, pull it in, use that. Get those set of documents inside the syntax, and you see and field equals value 2. This is a sample of how you would use this thing, and you get the idea that this should be faster. It's much faster. It's 100 to 1,000 times faster than the original query. So it's a way to save results, and you can't. I'm not claiming that it's real time. It is static, and that's true about that. So. The details and some of the use cases, as I said, is reporting daily and hourly daily or hourly documents you search for all the time. I mean, what's important to you, what business logic is important to you to keep around. These are static, though. I will say that they're static document sets. They do not currently refresh automatically. We may deliver that if there's interest in a future release, like I don't know what they're announcing for the Domino Next, but Domino Next is certainly in our mind. There are some limits. I think the 50 megabyte thing is inaccurate, by the way, but there are limits per database of how many of these you can have and how much space they can consume, because we don't want them to run away. That can be overridden. Notes any settings to override them. They do expire, as I said. They are discarded automatically by Updal, but they're settable. So the discard time frame is any time you want. So again, I keep saying that, but the expire hours is up to you how you want to set it. Okay. All right. So there's one more piece here, which is the interaction of Updal with these result sets. The first thing to think about here is the -J, new, and then underneath -J, you have the options. The first one is delete one. That says I want to name and override the expiration set and delete this thing right now. In other words, I don't care what the expiration is set. I want to nuke it now. Delete all says I want you to kill all the named document sets in my database. Delete all, but basically does default. It says, look, if there's an expired name set, nuke it. Delete it now. And report generates a report of named document sets in your database. So you can run Updal-J report, and you will see the document sets with expiration dates that are part of your database. Okay. And there's a similar control in the backend classes. Remove the database, remove all query named results. That's what is the equivalent of the delete all call. Okay. Now I think I have, so this is the question. I don't know if I can run this. I always say that my queries. Oh, I guess it is run. Yeah, it's not fixed up yet. So I have a database I'm fixing up. What I'm going to do then is show you the logic of what I would run if I was going to. Okay. So this is Java. No apologies, but if you're a Lotusscript person, basically you capitalize the method names. and get rid of these semicolons, and you really have kind of the same thing. Okay, so so the first thing is, of course, open the database. I'm creating a query. The create Domino query thing does it. The DQ thing that comes in there, the MDQ. And then this is the string that I'm going to search for. That is your a query against a 2 million record, 2 million document database. I print off the running time and do the search milliseconds thing. That's basically so I can time. I'm a timing freak, so I do it all the time. This line here is the run. Okay, that actually does the execute, produces and saves the results. So Ayton or London closed is the name of the result. This takes about 3 minutes to run on my machine. Now it's 2 squirrel power. my laptop is not known for its beefiness, but this takes 3. You have queries, I guarantee you, that could take that long because first of all, as I said, we're not using views, we're not using full text indexes. We are nailing the actual NSF scanning here and saving what we do. So 24 hours, I'm saying I want you to, if it's there, override it anyway and save this for 24 hours. Okay, and that runs. This whole thing takes about 3 minutes to run. And then I do another query down below. I look for just those documents in that found set. And that takes about 1/4 of a second, 250 milliseconds to run, which is, it's about 760 times faster. It's a silly discussion. This is the fastest way to find documents in Domino, no question. And that's because you've already found them and you're just pulling the results in. Okay, that's why I built it, because we wanted to have something that was at your disposal, that if you're continually running the same query or part of a query, I mean, as I say, the data that you look for, why you look for it, the syntax of the fields and whatnot, you can go ahead and do that and keep it around. You don't have to do the work over and over again. Okay, so that's there. All right, let's go back to the presentation though. Right here. So what we're talking about for the future, we do not replicate these right now because they have node IDs in them, and you know that node IDs don't replicate. So they do not replicate. They're on a particular instance of a database. That's how it works. And what we want to do is make them automatically refresh by storing the DQL that produced them. And we want to make them replicable so that they can be sent around and you have them across your servers, your cluster. Okay, so that's what's there. Okay, change of subject. We're now moving into the query results processor. Let me see if there's any, if I can find out, are there any questions in the chat? I don't know how to go to the chat. Well, no Q&A. Nope, nothing. Okay. Okay. So I will try to remember to hit that as I go through here. Okay. So the reason for the query results processor has to do with the fact that DQL, full text search, DB search, and things like get all documents with key. All those calls produce found sets. Those found sets internally, if you're familiar with it, they're an ID table of node IDs. That's what's around. Now, you can't really view, they do nothing for you, okay, except they use them to open the underlying documents. And there was no way in DQL or anything else to do any better than that. So what we've done, and we said, okay, we need people said, I want to get results from more than one database. I want to sort by something other than node ID. I want this done on the fly with discardable results like a query, query results. And I want to have reviewable, presentable data. And this is the best way I know for having traversal and all of the navigation means in Domino. That's called a view, isn't it? I mean, we know this, right? It's called a view, and that's what we decided to build on. So we have the view APIs in mind. They don't work 100%, but that is the goal. That is the promise. And I'll show you what we built in a minute. But so we delivered the query results processor in 2 parts. The first part included most of the engine and JSON results. I'm not going to go into the JSON. If you want to do that, I'm probably going to make a set of tutorial videos to talk about that as well. But this is primarily the 1201 deliverable, which is views. I think most people are interested in the views anyway, so I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so this, I make sure that I scare people right away. I apologize that this appears scary, and I don't mean it to be so, and I know it looks complicated. It's not simple because it had to support some serious functioning. So we need to have something here. So this picture though shows you on the left you've got DQL and all your searching methods of doing things: DB search, full text. You can actually you can add to a document collection one at a time and do it by hand. The combined piece is not done yet. It's TBD. That is the join piece. But we do have currently the fetch, which pulls things very quickly from NSF and using NSF search optimized. And then that feeds into a sort. Now the sort, you're very familiar with the sort used with views. Obviously, that's how views work. We also have the sort as a callable API available for the engine to use in case of the JSON data. So we're sorting for JSON, we're sorting for views, same sort, but we're providing at different outputs to specify the output, either JSON or view are the current offerings there. So this shows you, kind of the flow, and I call this the query train or the query bus that shows you the way it goes from left to right. Sorry, left to right. You're looking at my backwards. All right, so that really is the in essence what we're doing here. Okay, how to think about these things really. Think about how would you create a view in Designer, right? What would you need to create a view? Well, selection criteria and columns, right? What else? Those are the main things you need. And once you have those two things, you tell update, okay, build my view and show it to me. Actually tell Designer. And that's all you really need. And of course, the columns tell you how to sort. There's those kind of things. There's sorting applied. So QRP views are the same, right? Even though they're programmatic. That is, we give you a set of API calls to make to specify your selection criteria. But of course, the selection criteria in this case is DQL or full text search or DB search, whatever you chose to come up with a selection criteria, you pass that in. So you basically, the selection criteria is run inside the program. And we give you computed columns with rules for each set of documents. And I'll go through that so you try to understand it. Again, I want to make a set of tutorials about this so people can be demystified and understand the pieces as they move along. It starts slow and move into it and learn it, and that's the way it will go. So QRP views are different. By the way, they're also called result views. QRP views are different in that their data spans databases. That was our charter. Remember, we had to get data from multiple databases, and the sets of documents are multiple. It's not a single, like a selection criteria, which is just a piece of formula language. We provide you the ability to specify anything you want, to pass in any set you want from any database, and they are created to expire. So the idea is that until today, you might have thought, most people think of views as something that's a design element that stays around forever. Why would you ever delete such a thing? Well, we're saying these are throwaway. In fact, I'll throw one away for you as we demonstrate it. They're quickly thrown away, quickly created, and kept around for whatever you want. Like we have an expiration hour time, just like we do with the named result sets. Okay, all right. So let's start slow. Now, this might not seem simple, but this is pretty simple. It actually is pretty simple. What we're doing here, just to walk through line by line, the first one is getting the database. That host DB is a place where the database that will house the views. I call it the host database because it hosts the view. Okay, that's where it's going to be created. The source database is where you get the data from. Okay, and you can have multiple of those. You can have 20, 50, who cares? But you will have a database which is the source. In this case, only one. I'm keeping it simple. Then you will basically create a QRP, which is a query result processor object. You'll get one of those in hand. And this I think is more or less working Lotusscript, by the way. And I didn't do DQL here. I did a full text search. Okay, and I showed you. People know this stuff. And that is a working full text search that you can fire and come back with a result set. And then I'm saying, okay, that document collection, that dot call, I want to tell the QRP about it. Okay, so I'm going to pass in that dot call and call it result one. The reason for the name, as you'll see, by the way, someone clicking here. Oh, the chat, there is a chat. Okay, I will come back if you don't mind to this. Sorry. Yeah, the reason for the name here, this result one, is that we refer back to it later on. We'll come to that. And then I'm just creating two columns, okay? An unsorted one, which is the order number, and the second one, which is sorted descending, which is the date of origin, okay? And then I create the view. Again, you have selection criteria and columns. That's it. You're done, okay? There might be some questions in this, and what we're referring to. I'll go through that as the mini tutorial going through the API calls, okay? All right, so that's as simple as it gets, and maybe that's not simple enough, but it is. You understand. There's the add collection is a selection criteria. The add column is adding a column. That's what it is. Okay, so now we'll go to the next slide. Oops, am I in the right place? I think so. Yeah. Okay. All right. So decisions. Okay, we early on made a decision to provide an API, not a language, and it's either way, this is going to be powerful and complicated. We said we can't use SQL for a couple of reasons. One is that Domino is no SQL database, and people would expect SQL to perform like SQL, to function like SQL. If you're familiar with SQL, then you might know of the table clause, the with clause. That really is the closest analog to what we built here. And that, it's not simple. It has a union inside of it, and the union does a bunch of you can do all kinds of manipulation of data in between. I would say this is even more powerful because formula language blows that away. And we do have the ability to name things and have results coming from all over the place. And it uses programmatic elements. We decide, okay, we have these document collections. Let's use them. What do you say? Let's use these. And all of the objects are pretty well known and used. So I'm not, there's no apology here. I'm just explaining why we had that decision, because people say, well, why didn't we just create a query string and let this happen as part of DQL? The reason is that DQL is a single database function, and it works in a single database. And this is really so how do you then include full text search names, that kind of thing? So anyway, this is the piece we're pulling in here. So the first piece, the first component is the actual notes query result processor itself, created from a notes database instance. This is where the results will reside. It is the host. It's where the view will be created. You need to have some place to put the view. That's what this is. Okay, and we recommend, by the way, that you choose a place that's different from the source. You can choose whatever you want. But because of the volatility of these things and the chance of doing damage to production data, we recommend having a place. I'm going to show you a database I call QRP View Store, where I create these views and I reuse them. I pull them in. So here we go. It's very simple that we're getting the QRP and we are getting the set from the database. So create query results processor. Very simple constructor call. Okay. So then the next piece is, as I said, we must have at least one input found set. You can't have a view without having a selection criteria. So you must have at least one of these. Okay. And this is appended to the query results processor. You use the add collection call or the add domino query call. So the former one takes any document collection in hand, produced any way you want, and adds it. You have to have a name. So collection one is the name because we refer back to it, but it takes any place, any database. I mean, the heterogeneity, the ability to have data models that don't even talk to each other is wide open here. And I'm sure people will get creative with that stuff. But the add domino query actually uses a domino query, a DQL syntax to come in here. So it creates one of those and then adds that and gives you the query to actually run as part of the add domino query. And the last argument on the right there is collection 2. You see, that's also the name. Now, each incoming collection must be uniquely named, but there's no limit. I want to emphasize there's no limit to the number or the requirement for similar design across collections. This is Domino at its best. It's a wide open design center. You know your data. It's awesome. You know how your data relates to it. Your data relates to other data, and it's up to you to decide how you want to mold it. I'm going to show a result, an actual demo of a bunch of name NSF clones that are around. They have the same design, of course, but it does not have to be that way. I'll go through that again. Okay, the columns. Again, you must have at least one. A view doesn't exist without a column. The default view has that useless, which number in the view is this, that column, but you must have one assigned here. So you do that by calling add column. Can you imagine? It's a great name. So add column has as its arguments the name of that column. This is the programmatic name. You see that I pasted in the actual designer pieces to show you what it was. That's the programmatic name. That's required. You must have that. Okay, and it must be unique across the column space. Okay, now you can also specify at average and at sum. These are aggregates. Okay, if you're familiar with how views do aggregates, they do the subtotals. These are only after categorized column. I'll show you an example in a minute to show you how this works. But the idea is that you have average my field or sum of my field, and my field there inside that expression is taken as the column name. Okay, that can be computed any way you want. You can come up with, you can override it with formulas, but that name is essentially the column name here. So you would specify in the place of the column name, you'd specify the aggregate with the embedded field name. Okay, and yeah, these are, I believe they are absolutely case insensitive. Okay, likewise, you must supply a column title so that when we create the view, of course, that's the heading on top. That is required as well. Actually, I don't know if that's required. You might be able to set that to null, but how do you know what view, what column it is if you don't have it's not presentable without it. And I guess that's the statement. Okay, and then to finish the arguments here, the formula for computing is formula language. If it's omitted, we'll use the column name as a field name. We'll take that in and plug that in the formula, fetching that name of a field, and pull that right into the column. Okay, so the formula language is just a shorthand on the add column right here. You see that formula for computing. It's just a way to specify a formula to apply in order to compute a result that we'll put into the view. It's optional. You don't need it. As I say, you will inherit that value from the column name, or you can override it with the add formula. We're going there. Hold on. Okay, sort order. There are 3 of them. Unordered, ascending, and descending. They're also optional. Sort unordered is the default, of course, saying you don't want to sort this thing. Sort ascending, sort descending are, you know what those mean. They're essentially the same order you always had with Domino. Hidden is, I don't want to see it. I believe we say, and I have to fix this because I think I believe we say that if you specify hidden, it has to be sorted. That's probably a mistake. But anyway, a hidden value just doesn't show. In fact, we create these views with hidden values. Categorize, you know what that means as well. The classic Domino's view categorization. Okay, here we go. The formulas. These are optional. This is the kind of the final frontier of final frontier is combined. So we haven't got there yet, but this piece with add formula is extremely powerful. And let me go through it. Okay, basically that you specify the formula language. Each one of these add formulas must have formula language as part of it, saying, okay, here's what I want you to do for the combination of column names and result names I'm going to tell you about. So the column name must exist in an add column call. You had to add. If you don't have that name, this will not run. It will complain. But you must specify a column name that you already specified in the column name descriptions. And then the collection name says, okay, across those, if you have multiple, and go back a few slides here, for each of these collections you added, I want to choose which ones to apply this formula to. Okay, go back here. So the idea is that you can and also use a wildcard. So you have collection 1 through 50. Collection star applies to all of them. Okay, so you basically say, I want this column name and this collection name. Find those in the columns, and when it comes time, when you're processing that collection, apply this formula. Okay, and I'm going to show you an example of a formula that changes once per collection. You know, it sounds complicated. I know. The power is immense that we can apply these formula across multiple sets of documents as they come in, using wildcards, using formula language with all its power. I mean, it is an immense capability. It really, people have started using it for things like geospatial search and stuff like that already. All right, with using JSON. Okay, to specify the add formula, it overrides any formula specified in add column. Okay, anything that's out there, and it is a way to override all of it. It can be used to sort data across different designs, different document structures. You can make data look the same. So if you changed between versions of a database, you change the way that a certain column, certain field has been formatted, you can massage it here and have it show up in the view as if it was the same. Okay, so and that's just the beginning. There's so much you can do with this. I can't really describe it all. Hopefully, I can get to some of that when I do the tutorial. Oops, going back too far. And finally, the execute call. Yes, the execute to view is what it's called. Again, if you're a Java guy, Java person, just make that a lowercase e, and you've got the same thing. The view name, of course, is required. We can't create a view without a name, and it has to be unique. It cannot exist in the database, in the host database, so it has to be unique. Expire hours are just the same as they were in the results set. The name results set, same thing. And you specify reader name or list. So I'll go into this, but the QRP views are secured at the view level. So we did not, and likely will not, import all of the reader list from the original documents. That was unwieldy, too much data to ship around, too hard to do because of things like roles and such. So we said, look, what you want to do is slap a reader list on this thing. Now, that means that the results of the QRP views will be viewable by anybody in your reader list. Okay, they can look at it. They cannot open the base documents. Okay, if they try to double click on those, they'll be disappointed because it won't work. Okay, all right. So let's yeah, this is a busy screen. So as I mentioned, they are secure at the view level. You pass in a reader's list. I believe star works. I have not. We have to test it. I owe you guys a better description of what is the override. I believe it's asterisk. They're hidden. Okay, so you do not see them by default in your trough on the left inside the client. They're designed to expire, as I said, be purged automatically by updom. You can override them. As I say, that magic number 8760 is the hours in a year. You can go ahead and do that. Again, contain data from any database, given any criteria, can be stored in a database. As I mentioned, we do recommend you have a dedicated QRP view database. They have internally in the view artificial node IDs. I'll show you that in the client in a minute, but they can be found in the view and nowhere else. They do not relate to the database they're stored in. Okay, so this is different. That you can't look at the node ID on one of these artificial entries and do anything with it. Instead, we have hidden columns at the end to provide database path and original node ID. If you want to open them from Lotusscript or Java, we have examples in the documentation to show you how. You have to fish out those values, just open it or manipulate the document that way. The reason is that they're spread out. You can't, node IDs would clash, right? You don't have the same node ID can exist in 10 places. You don't even know that. So what we do is qualify it in those hidden columns. They support categorization, hidden columns, aggregates for average and sum, as I mentioned. And the notes UI will open the original document with a double click. I think this is weird. Nope, not yet. Okay, so let's talk about a few more things regarding this. The first thing is let's see what time it's turning out to be. Oh, wow. Yes, the show database name and E at the end shows the results view sizes. So those are the names of the views, the bytes they consume, and the expiration time you see on the far right. That shows up under from console command. Show database, I don't believe was published till 1201, but you can go ahead and use that. Likewise, if you want to expire one of these or delete it by hand, you can remove it using updal. TX does it. That T can be small case, and you give it the name of the view to throw away, and you see the output results view was deleted. You can't use that, by the way, on regular views. That fortunately we don't let you do that. So -TX only works with QRP views. Okay, good. I'm glad it's time for that because I'm ready to go here. Let me come back after this and answer questions if you don't mind. Let me show you first of all the logic for the first query. Okay, this one is it's a little bit different than the simple case I showed you, but you get the idea that you can create 4 columns, 1 result set. Basically, I'm doing a DQL query to create based on Trudy Ayton's autumn of 2017, and I'm going to save. I'm going to save that in a view called Trudy 2017 sales down below. So let me go ahead and do that if I can here. Nope, not there yet. Sorry. Let's go from here. Okay. I believe this is number 13. That's it. So this is going to run. It's storing it in the QRP view store database. This is just a Java utility I threw together to demonstrate this. It's finding these. Oh, look at that. We already have it. It's already there. So let me demonstrate quickly the ability to nuke it using updal. You see updal right there? We're going to throw away her we don't like that anymore. Throwing it away. So there it is. You see that results view has been deleted. Okay, and then run it again. This time it will run to completion, should, and we'll open the client and show you what it looks like. Ready, go. Yep, there it is. So there's the view being created. This is just some debugging I turn on to show what the actual columns that are being generated. It should be in a couple, 8 seconds. That's a long time. But anyway, I think my notes in has some slowdowns. I'm running non-production. So let's however look at the client. Okay, this is, by the way, woohoo, a 64-bit client, and running on my server side here. QRP view store is the name of the database. Shift Control to see the hidden views, and there's Trudy. Okay, here she is. Look, we found her documents. So those are that's what we just created. Okay, and so I'll show you again. Remember this? It does not have a usable node ID. You can't ask questions. Right click does not work on purpose. These are not documents in the database. They live somewhere else. And we do you no service by trying to figure that out or give you any kind of a document property that fetches across the Great Divide. However, you can, by double-clicking, open the remote document. That document does not exist in this database. So this is navigating automatically, the double-click, to the database in which it does reside. Okay, so you see these documents, individual, are produced that way. So anyway, we have this. All the documents you can open. I'll bore you with that, but it opens the document in its original form. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so let me kill that, and I'm going to run the other one now. The other one is more complicated. I wanted to show you that one first, so I can show you this one now. Yes, we're going to have in this case 4 different fake name and address books. Okay, 25K a piece. This kind of represents an annual database, whatever. But I'm creating 4 different Domino queries that I'm running here against each of those databases. A single query running against each of them. I'm running the Domino query right here, and adding it to the QRP. You see that? And I'm adding several columns. The first one is a category by department. I'm adding that as the categorization right here. It says make it categorized. And then I'm adding a bunch of aggregates. So average, in this case, I'm saying the average salary across that department, right? The sum of the salaries across that department. And then this funny thing, sal with raise. What the heck? Well, that doesn't exist in the database. That's not a field. Okay, so what is sal with raise? Well, I'm glad you asked. because there's a formula here. Okay, and last of all, I add the database name so you can see where they come from and the full name of the person involved. Okay, so Sal with raise is manipulated by add formula. You see this? So it's different for each of the found sets. Each of the incoming results has a different computation. Okay, so for names 1, names 2, I have 1.10. For names 1, I have 1.05. So the raise I'm going to give people differs by the database, you see, in this case. So whatever it is, this demonstrates the override potential here. And likewise, I'm adding, here's what full name. Full name doesn't exist in the, the full name field doesn't really exist there. So we're actually manipulating what's there. And that's across the name star means all of each of these input sets, okay? So I hope this hasn't gone too fast. If it has, you can review it by looking at the video. I have to keep moving here because the time is short. So this is going to be number 7. I know that because I ran it. It's going to take a few seconds to run because it's fetching from 4 different places, but I can show you the results when we're done. You can see the computation that happened. You can see the aggregates. Everything's in place inside this view that you want to see. You specified those columns. So there we are, telling you what we're going to do. Actually, that isn't print by default. That is something I put out there. Okay, and we're going to fetch each of the results and create a view. On a good day, create a view that has the data in them. And yeah, this is going slowly because I have some non-production checking going on that's slowing things down. Sorry about that. But that is hopefully there's no we haven't crashed. It's running. Anyway, so that'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, let me just take a second to answer questions. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it finished. It took 37 seconds. Okay, as I say, this is squirrel power on my laptop plus a set of non-production slowdowns that we use internally to find issues ahead of time before we ship. Okay, so go into the database again. Again, 64-bit database, and QRP view store. Open this and look at that. We have Sal view. So let me show you that view. Okay, so now you see the entire view showing up with computed salaries, average salaries, sum of salaries, and then with the raises. And those raises, again, that's applied differently for each of the found sets coming in. So the power, I mean, you think of the power, you can do anything you want here and have that result showing up within the same view. Okay, on the right, you have the database where this resides. So I'm going to open, okay, let's look at this one. It's in fake K3. Okay, there's that one. 4, let's go there. Let's go to 1, why not? Okay, and I'll find a 2 here somewhere. Where's the 2? There's the 2. Open that one too. So you get the idea that each of these, you can open up, just double click on it and open the results in the original database, okay? All right, so that is the demo for QRP, all I have time for really in this venue. So let me see what's going on here. Okay, so I'll come in, if I can look at the chat. There we go, only 2 things. All right, let me just answer some questions here really quick. Embedded in uniform, no, I don't believe so, no. These are computed on the fly. So yeah, so there are going to be lots of ways that people use these and say, well, I really don't, I can't, they're not full-blooded views. Look, if these are important things to you, you've got to tell us. You've got to tell us this is important functionality. You want it to do X, Y, Z. Use AHA to do so. We are listening, okay? So this is what we can get done for 1201. XPage, I don't know why it wouldn't show up in XPage view. It's certainly a view like everything else. Up to all-X, yes, you can run every hour, whatever you want to do. Formula, the OR, yeah, I probably got the formula language wrong. Sorry. Thank you for being my parser. I appreciate that. How does the formula perform? Well, the formula performs. It does an NSF scan. The big question is how you would go get the data. And in this case, you would basically do a scan of the NSF data. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm talking DQ. I'm talking stuff that's in beta right now. Silver Fox. Who's that? Who that is? Yes. Okay. Anyway, that's that. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. Try to get through in the time remaining. Okay. Okay. So results views, the QRP views are not refreshed. You must delete and recreate. They do not replicate because we do not have the data around to do so. You created them programmatically. We don't have the logic you did with that. We could provide, and if you want this, please specify it. Please tell us. They do not enforce document security unless one tries to open the original document. Then you can't. All right. So the document data shows up in the view, but you cannot open it. We will enforce it at that level. But that's why we supply the reader lists on the execute to view call. They do not tolerate designer changes. I will say that to their structure, you can play with the fonts and the colors all you want, but do not, for instance, add a column. The results are unpredictable, and you'll need to rebuild. That's basically the rule there. These are throwaway views. You'll learn that as you decide to throw them away. And they're recreatable. So you can keep them around as long as you want. I mean, they're static, so who cares? But that's the idea. You decide what you want to do there. Okay. Then, yeah, let me go back. Yeah, that's it. So QRP Features short term, I owe you guys, and I'll provide this tutorial video series to go through the stuff. And we've already had a request. Look, I have a view design I really like. Use that. Don't make me code the column names. Use the stuff that's there. Okay, I got it. We can certainly make that possible. Joins and combines I'm not done. With a join, you'll be able to have data from multiple databases on a single entry. We don't have that yet. And refreshable, replicable views. Those are all things we want to deliver. And I'll say it again, we need to hear from you. Okay. All right, real quick, going through the last piece here. There's a distinction here I want to make between named result sets and named documents. This is a new functionality